Welcome to another episode of the Orange and Brown Talk podcast, a second in a row Hey Mary Kay edition of the podcast for this week. I am Ashley Bastock, joined by Mary Kay Cabot. Dan Labby, if you missed our episode yesterday, he's on vacation this week, well deserved. So I am filling in again. And Mary Kay, I wanted to kind of start off with a question that I actually left on the table from yesterday, and I know you got a headline out of it today, so we'll have a chance to expand on it in a little bit of the conversation. So this question comes from Mike Parker in Chester, Maryland, who says, "Hey, Mary Kay, do you think the Browns will have the defensive skill set and scheme to contain Lamar Jackson and other mobile quarterbacks?"
I really think they will, in part because they do have good speed on the outsides with Obo on one side, Myles Garrett on another side. And then we also know that Zadarius Smith will sometimes be on the outside as well. These guys are really fast, explosive. They can set the edge, and they have what it takes to try to contain a Lamar Jackson. It's never easy, but they do have the horses up front to do it. And then you move back a level to the linebackers. And of course, a number of their linebackers are rangy and shifty. You've got Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who was drafted in part to handle a quarterback like Lamar Jackson. So they're definitely set up to do it. And then, of course, it does take a good scheme to be able to actually pull it off. And I think that, Jim Schwartz has enough of experience to be able to scheme it up, to draw it up right, to get these guys stopping Lamar and his wild and crazy ways. And some of them they won't know about yet because Todd Monken is going to be in charge now as the offensive coordinator for the Ravens, former Browns offensive coordinator. And things are going to be different. There's a new sheriff in town. So we're not even 100% certain how much Lamar is going to be taking off and running, how much he's going to do those off schedule plays. But when he does, or when they face anybody else that's like that, I think they have what it takes.
I do too. And my first kind of thought, again, with the caveat that Todd Monken is now in charge in Baltimore instead of Greg Roman, who had been there forever. It's like the last 2 years, at least that I've been covering this team, it feels like in a lot of ways we've seen like almost like the best of this defense going against the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. And maybe it wasn't perfect, but I think about in 2021 when they go to Baltimore, they find a way to create 4 takeaways against him. He, threw 4 interceptions, which was kind of crazy, even though the Browns lost that game. And again, like you mentioned, JOK, I think Sione Takitaki is another one with given his kind of sideline to sideline speed we saw develop last year. I think that's a good matchup for him, especially like it's interesting to talk about the linebackers like that because we know their role is going to be different in this defense. But I just think the personnel they have, like this has been kind of, a slow building thing where they are kind of built almost to contend with the Ravens. And I think that was very intentional when they were putting together this defense.
Yeah, I think so too. One of the things I'm going to be very interested to see is, Jim Schwartz, he has so much experience. He's got head coaching experience. He's got 14 years experience as a coordinator. What he doesn't have is coordinating experience over the past couple of years. He's been a senior consultant in Tennessee the last 2 years, and the game has evolved and changed even since the last time that he was a defensive coordinator in Philadelphia in 2020. So it will be very interesting to see how he pivots and adjusts to what some of these offenses will be throwing at them.
All right, so we had another defensive question.